Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat. Here I am with part two of the Downward Spiral. Today I'll be reviewing The Promised Neverland season two, episode 3. Now, if you've been following, I'm doing a quick little series here for The Promised Neverland as it airs English dub debuts on Toonami. So last night they aired episode 3 of season 2 out of 11. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a quick synopsis of the episode and then just give my general thoughts on it. So at the end of this episode, we're now back to at the end of the last episode. We were in the tunnels with Sanju, with Mojika, and of course the kids. And at the very beginning, you really just have this kind of a chill down moment where it's like everyone's just hanging out in the tunnels. Emma's showing Mujika all the picture of like all the kids that they had to leave behind at the farm that they're gonna find and get back someday. And then basically you have another moment where everyone kind of briefly cries over Norman, which has been a very prominent theme in the first 3 episodes or so. So then the next day, they head out of the woods to the edge of the woods, and that's where Sanju and Mujika say, "Oh, goodbye, goodbye. If you continue this direction, you should hit the coordinates you need to, hopefully by nightfall." And at the end, when the kids are leaving, you had Sanju start saying some weird, creepy stuff like, "Oh, those kids are really smart." Then Mujika's like, "Wait, you actually want to eat them?" It's like, "Yeah, I want to eat them, but I hate the fact that they're domesticated because they grew up on the farm. I want wild kids because I want the chase." Which I read the manga way back when, like right after the first season aired on Toonami, and I honestly am not sure if this was a thing in there. It really, but how the anime does it, they do it in such a way that it seems really awkward. Of like, I was a good guy, but really, I was the bad guy. I was the bad guy in a way that's absolutely irrelevant to the plot. And then he goes back into the woods and just like kills a bunch of demons. It just felt so weird how they silted it. But again, back off the rant. More on that probably later and onto the plot. So the kids, they go through the desert on a horse with no name. But hey, it's good to be out of the rain. And then they hit the coordinate, which is BO632. They all panic because it's a desert wasteland. There's nothing there. And then Ray's like, everyone shut the hell up. I know what I'm doing. It's like, oh, wait, it's a new code. Oh, okay. Dawn, tell me what's the word in this part, this part, this part. And it's like, oh, history. So then it opens up a tunnel, and then they go into the tunnel. And it's like this like very nice shelter. They have like electricity. They have hot water. They have all the supplies to make food. They're planning on making seedlings to like stay there. And basically, that's really the rest of the episode is me like just kind of go into some details about like what they found there. Like they found this was like a great facility. And also one notable part too is that at one point one of the boys, like the red-haired boy, I don't know most of these kids' names by the way. Like I know Ray, Emma, Norman, Gilda, Dawn, and I know like one of the other blonde girls is named Anna, and that's really it. And more on that in a minute, why that kind of frustrates me. But the one boy that has like red hair sits down a piano, starts playing, and again, we have another piano music montage to the type of music you would listen to when you're in a Chick-fil-A bathroom, pissing out your third Coca-Cola, trying to make the decision about whether or not the good Christian girl you just spent $20 on with Chick-fil-A would be willing to commit sin with you in the bed of her dad's Ford F-150. And basically it just shows and then like one kid presses a key and it opens up like this portal to like I guess more tunnels about like an emergency route out of there. And then like the kids are just like having food, they're having fun. There's this awkward bath scene, which is not that awkward because in Japanese culture it's very common to take baths with multiple people of the same sex as you, so that's not really that awkward in their culture. And basically at the end, though, you have like the young like boy who looks like a blue-haired Deku, like staring, looking scared out in the distance, right? And then you have like Ray find like a door that says like pin and like Minister Minerva's code, so he uses the pin to open it. And then you have like Emma walks in, she hears the phone ring, and then at the same time Anna is like walking over to see like a skeleton with like the word help sprayed in blood. And then Emma pick up the phone and to have a voice say, "Hello, this is Mr. Minerva." And that's how the episode ends. And considering the fact that apparently this next episode is when everything starts going to hell with the anime, it would have been perfect. It would have been absolutely fitting for when Emma pick up the phone to say the following words. Oh, you want to find the Emma? Well, she can't come to the fart now. Why? Oh, 'cause she's dead. Okay, exactly like two of the 100 something people who are gonna watch this know what that is a reference to. But you get exactly what I'm talking about, and you think this is a perfect joke. The other 98 of you think that's a stupid joke. Probably is. But again, now to my thoughts of the episode. It's kind of seeped through during my synopsis that I had a negative opinion of this episode, so might as well go out right into it. Okay, you have an episode that I did math on this, and going into this episode for the last 9 episodes of the season, they needed to average about 14.29 chapters of the manga per episode. And the first 2 episodes covered about 6 chapters each. So while the first 2 episodes I thought did a pretty decent job of kind of going through things fast without really seeming like you're whipping through things, this episode did the exact opposite, where they just went really slow. Like I mentioned in the previous Downward Spiral video, thinking that the next episode referring to this past episode, there was going to be a twist in it that I thought was stupid when I first read it, and a lot of people who are like more down on the manga said that's when the manga starts getting bad. And I thought maybe that's where things correspond to in the anime, because everyone says episode 4 onward is bad, but we didn't even get to that twist this episode. Like I think we only covered like 3 chapters here, considering we needed to cover about 5 times as much to be on pace. That's not good. That means they're definitely having to skip stuff the last 8 episodes to get to the finale. And just knowing all the different plot points, and I'm not talking about like, oh, arcs that can be skipped. I mean stuff you absolutely have to touch on for the plot to make any coherent sense whatsoever, is gonna be such an insane whiplash that you might want to buy a seat belt and a car seat, like a child car seat, to sit in and to strap yourself in just to handle all the whiplash we're going to get from the last 8 episodes here. And another qualm I had about this episode, and I mentioned right off the bat, what the first season did well is you can argue they had this extended cast of like these 30 something kids and Isabella, along with someone like Sister Crone. But what they focused in on was the big three, the main three of Emma, Ray, and Norman. And to a degree, they gave Gilda and Dawn their own kind of bit of a plot line and was able to tie that in very well. So what that first season did an amazing job on was just focusing in on the characters and characterization that needed to happen. This episode, I thought straight away from that, because there are moments in this episode where they really try to bring up the point of, hey, yeah, we know we have these kids we focus in on, but look at these other kids that we barely talk about. Like, you have this whole scene in the bathtub of like these various male boy characters, which we have no real characterization on, you know, except for there's like 2 boys who look suspiciously like younger Normans. One who have like really small eyes and one with like really large eyes. And I know anime, large eyes, but for anime standards, this boy had abnormally large eyes, you know? And also, I guess they ran out of good ideas for like character designs because one of the boys looks exactly like a younger Odd from Code Lyoko as well, you know? And at the same time, and they try like giving these characters like characterization, but it's like you have 8 episodes left. You're barely gonna have time to focus on the absolute main characters here. Why are you burning time talking about these boys in a bathtub, you know? And like the only break from this is when you have Dawn, a character we actually know stuff about, like show up. And it was just this scene just felt so pointless. And also like it really felt like a good 15 minutes of this episode spent in this like bomb shelter or whatever, basically exploring the place. And this place might be very important to the future, but again, with how much you have to cover, it feels weird that this chapter, if I recall correctly, this is chapter 52 in the manga. They spend so much time on this one chapter where I honestly don't know why they. I mean, you have like 100 something chapters ago. I think there was 170, 180 something chapters overall in the manga. and we only covered 15 or so in the first 3 episodes here. It just really feels like you're going out of your way to be slow. Nope. The mangaka of this manga was involved in this anime. So it wasn't like, oh, we just cut the production staff just cut stuff they didn't think was important. No, they discussed this with the mangaka of, hey, what should we cut if we're speeding this up? What do we have to emphasize? And apparently he really, really liked chapter 52 for some reason. So he spent like 15 minutes on it. And and also another thing about it was like, also it's just like this whole thing, it just really just feels like, and other moments too, like when they right before Ray figured out the puzzle to open up the bomb shelter, you had like this whole, like, I guess, comic relief scene of like a bunch of kids freaking out saying like, Mr. Minerva lied to us, Mr. Minerva lied to us, which I get is supposed to emphasize that, yeah, even though these are characters doing these things that only older people can do, that they're still kids. I get that they're emphasizing that, but you're spending time away from the plot to do this when you already know you don't have much time to do it. And again, if this was a season in the midst of, like, let's say if they divided Promise Neverland into 4 seasons and this was just season 2, I would have had almost no problem with what they did. But the fact they have to cover all of this in the last 8 episodes, like, this is setting up the shit sandwich that is the last 8 episodes. Because, like I said, apparently I've been told episode 4 is when things go to shit. And we are on the doorstep of that now, and I can see why things are gonna go to shit already, you know? And overall, this episode, I feel like if you were just told in a few sentences, oh, the kids leave the woods, they go to the bomb shelter. The bomb shelter is actually pretty awesome. Oh, and they finally got verbal contact with Mr. Minerva. There, I just summarized the whole episode with you right then and there, you know? And at the same time, I feel like you could have done that in like 5 minutes and then went on with the manga. Because if I recall correctly, what happens next is pretty action packed for the next brief minute. And I feel like you should be able to spend some time on that, but you're not going to be able to because he wasted 20 minutes going through a bomb shelter. But, and again, this episode, unlike the first 2 episodes of the season and unlike the first season, kind of felt like a drag to go through at points because not much was really happening of importance. So I guess for my rating, I give this episode a 5 out of 10. And if this is what is still considered one of the better episodes of the season, I am honestly scared to see what happens in the next 8 episodes. Maybe I have a nervous breakdown. Maybe I keep making more incorrect Chick-fil-A jokes. What do you guys think? Leave your opinions down below. If you want to see me gradually lose my mind over time, like, comment, and subscribe because then more people get to see me have a nervous breakdown. So if you like this content, do that, whatever. I am Super Orange Cat, and that is all.